Okay, so now we have a strong understanding of all the different terms and concepts involved in freedom and responsibility. So let's talk a little bit about exactly what freedoms we are nurturing in elementary children. And first, we're going to talk about the freedoms to do different things that we're really helping them to develop and maximize in their elementary experience. One freedom elementary children have is to choose their work. They get to choose their work. They get to choose how long they work on it, with whom they work on it. They get to determine what materials they use. This is their freedom. And we're really nurturing that ability to handle and that freedom to choose their work. So this means whatever's in the environment is something that they get to choose, even if it's a report on unicorns or something else that we think maybe, that we want to make some judgment on. They get to develop and grow in this freedom to choose their work. And because children have that group instinct of wanting to work together in groups, they have the freedom to work in groups. They get to choose their groups. They get to mingle between all sorts of different groups. That's a freedom they have in the classroom. And we're helping them as they learn to navigate that freedom with lots of experience and practice. The children also have a freedom to communicate. So our classrooms are not silent. They're actually there's quite a hum of activity. And especially with all these children working in groups, they have the freedom to communicate as they're working. They need to be able to argue and debate and laugh and cry and read poetry to each other. Whatever sort of communication that's important for them, they need to be able to do it. And they need to learn how to manage that freedom to communicate. So we, again, allow for a lot of that communication in the classroom. Elementary children have the freedom to think in their classrooms. We give them pretty much complete intellectual freedom. We want them to think. We want them to reason. We don't want anything to get in the way of their thinking. So we're not going to assign their work or assign worksheets because that has the effect of stopping their thinking. They're kind of doing it mechanically. We want them to be thinking and engaged in their work all the time, so we make sure this freedom is present and practiced in the classroom. Children have the freedom to move in the classroom. They're not confined to desks. They don't have to ask permission of the adult to move around the room or use the restroom. They have the freedom to move and gather what materials they need. And a lot of the presentations have movement involved in them because we want them, again, to experience this freedom within a community and have practice with their freedom of movement. They have the freedom to go out. We know the classroom doesn't contain everything they need for their, intellectual development. So they have to have the freedom to go out, to plan trips outside of the classroom, find the answers to questions they have, and learn how to navigate that process in society. And finally, they have a freedom to reflect. They're doing a lot of learning and thinking and self-constructing. And there are times where they are going to need to just sit and reflect on this. We have to keep this in mind, that in our environments, all these freedoms are in place to work and to do these, outwardly constructive things. But there are times when they do just need to internalize and reflect. And so we make sure that these freedoms are really present in the classroom as well. So all these freedoms to do these things have to be nurtured by the classroom environment and by the guide in terms of the liberties that are offered in the classroom. And the children must have practice to continue to build these capacities for it, because all of these freedoms come with some limits or boundaries, and we'll talk more about those in the next video.